Today we're going to read The Mouse in the Matzah Factory by Francine Medoff. If you're stuck at home and you can't go out to buy new Pesach books, figured you should share this one together. It is available on Amazon and probably wherever your favorite Jewish books are sold, so definitely as soon as you can get orders in, support your favorite authors. The new version actually has color illustrations, but I really like the old-fashioned brown ones that I grew up with, so that's what we're going to be sharing today. Here we go. The Mouse in the Matzah Factory. Once there was a little mouse who lived in a wheat field in the country. One day, men came and built a fence around the wheat field. Every day, they watched over the growing wheat. They watered the field, pulled the weeds, and waited for the wheat to ripen. The little mouse watched too. He wondered what was so special about this wheat. What do you think they're going to use this wheat for? Let's find out.
For the matzah.
Oh, you know already. It's for the matzah. You're right. When the wheat was ripe, the men cut it down. They worked carefully, making sure to keep the wheat dry. They tied it in bundles and loaded it onto a wagon.
What does a wagon mean?
What does a wagon mean? A wagon is like a car, but it's pulled with horses. The mouse decided to follow the wheat.
Can mouses go in?
You need to stay quiet while I'm reading the story for the video, okay?
Can mouses
Yes,
go
the
in?
mouse jumped onto the wagon to see what was going to happen with the wheat. Soon the wagon arrived at the mill. The mouse poked around until he found a hole in the bottom of the door. He crept inside. Huge grinding wheels were crushing the wheat into fine flour. The millers carefully poured the flour into brand new sacks and loaded them onto a truck. Where do you think they're taking the flour to?
To the matzah factory.
Yeah. The mouse jumped aboard as the truck sped away. He hid among the sacks, wondering where the truck would take them. They drove for a long time. They left the country with its open fields and wide spaces and came to the city. The little mouse peeked out. He saw tall buildings. He saw crowds of people. He heard the noise of cars and trucks on the street. I don't know if you can see in the video, but in the picture of the city, there's Down with Paro and No More Slavery, Passover Forever. There's pictures telling us about Pesach. At last, the truck stopped in front of an old building. Workers came to unload the sacks of flour. Quickly and quietly, the mouse jumped down and followed. An inspector stood at the door, checking to see that each flour sack was dry and tightly closed. The mouse was afraid he would be discovered, so he climbed onto a window ledge, squeezed through a crack, and hid behind a clock. He saw a large room with many people. They were all very busy. In one area, workers were unloading the sacks of flour. In another place, they were bringing in buckets of water. In the middle was a man with a mixing bowl. When the mixing man called out, the flour man scooped a cup of flour from the sack, reached through a little window, and dumped the flour into a bowl. When the mixing man called out again, the water man filled his pitcher with water, passed it through his little window, and poured the water into the bowl. The mixing man worked very quickly, mixing the flour and water into a lump of dough. The little mouse watched. He wondered what was so special about this dough. What's so special about the dough?
That's gonna turn into matzah.
You're right, it's gonna be matzah. The mixing man brought the dough to another area where many people stood at a long table. He gave a piece of dough to each person. They quickly rolled the dough into circles. The circles were passed to another table where a man poked holes into them with a special tool. He lined up the circles on a rack near a brick oven. You see the mouse is inside the tool that's making the holes?
And it hurts him.
I don't think it hurts him. I think he's having fun. The baker slid the circles into the oven. Minutes later, they were crisp and brown. A delicious smell filled the room as he took them out of the oven and placed them on a rolling cart. All of a sudden, the bell rang. The people began to clear their work areas. They scrubbed the tables, sanded down the rolling pins, and washed and dried the bowls. When they were finished, the mixing man reset the clock and called out for more flour and water. You know, how much time do they have before it becomes chametz? They have 18 minutes. 18 minutes is how long they need to make all of the matzah in, and then they have to stop and clean everything up. The mouse couldn't resist the delicious smell. He followed the cart into a room where people were packing the baked circles into boxes and tying them with string. Families were standing in line to buy the boxes. He hopped onto the counter to take a peek. This is what he read. Goldstein's matzah. This matzah is made of wheat, which has been watched from the time of harvest through the time of baking. That's right, the mouse thought. I watched this matzah. I watched it from the time the wheat began to grow in my wheat field. I watched it being harvested. I watched it being ground into flour. I watched it being mixed into dough. I watched it being baked into matzah. The mouse felt very important. He decided it was time to return to the country. Soon more wheat would be planted, and he wanted to be home in time to watch it again. And Chag Sameach, everybody.